Reality is not experienced all at once. It unfolds in layers, not in sequence, not as steps that must be completed one after another, but as depths, levels through which experience can be understood, interpreted, and lived. These layers have long been represented symbolically through the elements. Earth to physical water, to emotion, air to thought, fire to transformation, ether to unity. These are not scientific categories. They are experiential frameworks, ways of describing how reality is processed at different levels of awareness. They do not replace one another. They coexist. At any moment, a person is experiencing all of them, but usually aware of only one or two. Earth is the physical layer. It is the most immediate, the most tangible, the most grounded. It is where experience takes form. The body, the environment, the actions taken, and the consequences felt. This is the domain of structure and limitation, the realm governed by Saturn and expressed through reality itself. Earth is where time is felt, where effort has weight, where cause produces visible effect. In modern terms, this is the layer of daily life: work, routine, physical health, money, environment. It is what can be measured, touched, and directly interacted with. Most people live primarily at this level, not because it is the only one, but because it is the most immediate. Water is the emotional layer. It flows beneath the surface of physical experience. It does not change structure, but it changes how structure is felt. Water is the realm of the moon, perception, reflection, and internal response. Where Earth presents what is happening, water determines how it is experienced. Two people can exist in the same physical situation and experience it entirely differently. One sees opportunity, another feels fear, one feels calm, another feels overwhelmed. The structure is the same, the emotional layer is not. In modern life, this appears as stress, motivation, attachment, fear, connection. It is fluid, shifting, often unpredictable. And because it is less visible than the physical layer, it is often misunderstood. But it is powerful, because emotion influences action more than logic does. Air is the layer of thought. It is where interpretation begins to organize experience. Air is the domain of Mercury, connection, communication, and understanding. It takes what is felt and attempts to make sense of it. It asks, why did this happen? What does this mean? What should I do next? This is the layer of analysis, language, and reasoning. In modern terms, this is planning, problem solving, learning, communication. Air connects ideas. It builds frameworks. It allows patterns to be recognized and shared. But it is also limited, because thought does not always align with emotion or reality. It can clarify, but it can also distort. Fire is the layer of transformation. It is where change occurs, not gradually, but decisively. Fire is often associated with both the sun, truth, and Mars action, because it combines clarity with movement. It does not simply observe or interpret, it alters. Fire burns away what no longer fits. It reshapes identity. It forces adaptation. This is the layer of turning points. Moments where something shifts permanently, a realization that cannot be ignored, a decision that changes direction, an experience that redefines perspective. In modern life, this can appear as career changes, major life decisions, breakthroughs, breakdowns that lead to growth. Fire is not always comfortable. It disrupts stability, but it is necessary, because without transformation, the system becomes static. Ether is the layer of unity. It is the least tangible, the most difficult to define, not because it is vague, but because it is not tied to a single form of experience. Ether represents connection, not between objects, but between layers. It is the recognition that physical reality, emotion, thought, and transformation are not separate systems, but parts of a larger whole. This is the layer where patterns are seen clearly, where the system itself becomes visible. It aligns with the idea of the bridge, movement between realms in the North Star, orientation within the system. In modern terms, this appears as clarity of direction, a sense of alignment, understanding how different aspects of life connect. It is not mystical in the abstract sense. It is practical. It is the moment where someone recognizes why they think the way they do, why they act the way they do, how their patterns repeat, and how those patterns can be changed. These layers are not separate worlds. They are different depths of the same experience. A single moment can exist across all of them. A situation occurs, earth. It creates a feeling, water. It is interpreted, air. A decision is made, fire. A pattern is recognized, ether. All at once. This is why the elements represent depth, not sequence. They are not steps to climb. They are layers to become aware of. Most people remain at the surface, reacting to physical events and emotional responses without recognizing the deeper patterns. But as awareness increases, perception begins to expand across layers. The individual starts to see not just what is happening, but how it is being interpreted, why it is being felt a certain way, what patterns are being repeated, and how transformation can occur intentionally rather than reactively. This connects directly back to the system as a whole, because each element aligns with the archetypes already described. Earth to experience, Saturn/structure, water to perception, Moon, air to thought, Mercury, fire to action and transformation, Mars/Sun, ether to integration and connection, bridge/higher awareness. The deeper insight is this. Reality is not just what happens. It is how what happens is processed across layers. And the more layers that are recognized, the more complete the understanding becomes. Symbols allow this to be seen quickly. Instead of describing each layer in detail, a single element can represent an entire mode of experience. This is why symbolic systems were powerful. They compressed complexity into something intuitive, something that could be recognized rather than explained. In a modern world dominated by language, it is easy to overlook this. But the pattern remains, and once seen, it becomes a tool. Not for simplifying reality, but for understanding its depth.